In your book, The Incomplete Folksing, you say that you wonder whether you were doing right traveling around the world singing American songs, and you talk about American music flooding other countries and so on, and as Izzy might have told you, Sweden is also flooded with American music, and I wonder, do you have any ideas as to what could be done about this?
The first step in solving any problem is to get masses of people to admit there is a problem. No doctor can cure a patient if the patient won't admit he's sick. And this is a worldwide problem. And I think one of the first things is to convince everybody that it is a worldwide problem. Some people say, oh, what does it matter if the culture of this or that country dies out? It's a small country. The world will not miss it. And I don't like this aspect of its culture anyway. And because they don't like part of its culture, they want to deny the whole thing. And I think so one of the first steps, second step then, is to point out that in every culture there are unique and beautiful things which must not be lost. It might be something in sports, or something in language, or something in clothing or food. And if these are lost, the world will be the loser. Not just the little country, but the world as a whole will be the loser. And without taking a lot of time, you could think of immediately certain examples of culture, the world around, which the world would be the poorer for, as I say, in the field of clothing or food, as well as music and art and so on. Then, the third thing, I guess, is to zero in on the problem and think of concrete ways to prevent aspects of a culture from being lost. And here I think some of the experiences of the USA could be valuable. Take folk music, which I have had more experience in than other things, though I'm not an expert. I'm not a folklorist or anything. But I know folklorists, and my father, who was a musicologist, sat down in the 1930s with Alan Lomax trying to figure why the attempts of Europe to revive folk music had seemed to end in failure. The schools tried to teach folk songs to the children, but as soon as the children left school, they forgot about it as quick as they could. The symphonies tried to play folk songs on the concert stage, but no one seemed to want to sing the songs after they left the concert hall. And they came to the conclusion that one of the mistakes was to teach from the printed page. And so in the United States, when people like me, I was a teenager at this time, just learning that there was such a thing as folk music in my country, they said, no, don't learn to read music. Don't learn the music out of a book. Don't learn it from the printed page. Learn it from another performer. And watch the performer with your eyes. Listen to him with your ears, and you may imitate this or that performer a little bit, but sooner or later you will start changing it, and that is good that you change it. In other words, they were not trying to have me imitate exactly what Leadbelly sang or exactly what Woody sang, but rather to get the general principle. I think this is a valuable thing. I felt badly, for example, when I visit some countries and see a grand extravaganza on the stage of their folk music, complete with costumes and an orchestra and an audience of thousands applauding. I don't think that's folk music. I think the best thing about folk music is that ordinary people can make it in their homes, their kitchens. So this would be my first attempt to answer your question.
During the 60s, we got a lot of good singing and songwriting from the United States. Do you agree that the 70s hasn't produced, as yet, so much of interest? And if you agree, could you offer an explanation?
It's hard to say why. The singing of Bob Dylan in 1963 and 64 was very exciting, and other people tried to carry it on. But I think it's perhaps the result of the confusion and despair in many people's minds. Many people felt, well, music can't accomplish as much as we hoped it would accomplish. And they are looking for other means of communication. Some people felt that mass media, and I know Izzy feels this, Izzy Young, he is more of a snare and a delusion. That you get a song on the radio, and it somehow it defeats its purpose. The song should be in people's hearts, not on the radio. And in the United States, there's a lot of good songwriting going on, but it's not being put on records as much as it was, not being played on the radio or television, not even being printed in magazines as much as though people said, I don't care, I'm just going to make this music myself. So looking at the United States, you can say, why, nothing's happening musically. There was so much going on in 1964. But that's a mistake. There's a lot going on there. But it's just not on the radio. And the Newport Folk Festival is not attracting tens of thousands of people. But instead, we have hundreds of little gatherings around America today. And this is a good thing, I think. So I think the answer to your question is, first of all, there's more going on now than there was. Second, it is true, there's a lot of confusion, a lot of despair. We got rid of Nixon, but we still have the system. What do? We're not sure. I'm not sure. One of my own songs, which I'm singing now, in effect simply says, well, all I know is I'm going to hang on. I'm not sure if, as I was a while ago, what is going to happen. All I know is that I'm not going to give up.
I wanted to ask you something about that, because in the 40s, when you sang together with Woody Guthrie and the Almanacs, and you had people's songs incorporated and so on, you used songs as an agitational thing also.
I still do.
Yes. I'd like to know, if you take a look at present-day America and the world now, it seems that very few of the goals that you fought for by singing those songs have come true. Would you agree there? And has this made you disappointed in the effectiveness of songs?
I wouldn't say very few of the goals. Some of the goals have certainly not come true. Others certainly did. For 28 years, there has been a large sector of the American ruling class that tried its best to plunge the world into a gigantic war which would wipe socialism off the face of the earth. And they failed. And one of the reasons they failed was because of music, of the songs of Woody's and mine and many other people. This is a great victory, I feel. Much bigger victory than many people realize. In the 1940s, there was a large sector of the ruling class that was convinced, there was no doubt in their mind, that there would be atomic war with the Soviet Union, and of course, the United States would be the victor. Now, other places we failed, obviously. It's true. Take the case of civil rights of black people. Martin Luther King was assassinated. The Afro-Americans are themselves deeply divided as to tactics. There's not just 2 or 3 tactics, but 4 or 5 or 6. And white people like myself who would like to help are also divided in our opinions as to what to do about it. And yet, things are certainly not the same as they were 20 or 30 years ago. There are black people running for Congress in much greater numbers, and this has an effect. Now, how much of an effect, cannot guarantee, but it's having an effect. So we can't be sure exactly how much is accomplished, but certainly things are not the same.